So we're going to be looking at animated ribbon. So this is a script that's optimized to create those animated ribbons. So what it is seamlessly looping objects. I'll just do one very quickly. Um, don't worry what I'm doing. I'll explain it shortly. What it does is it drops in an adjustment layer together with some effects. Um, and it does a loop. It also calculates the loop for you. So put it there and then one frame back. Yeah, loop point is here, and then move one frame back and then set that as your work area. So it just runs left to right, and you can change the options here. Right, this has been set for horizontal, so you either go left to right or right to left. If you did a vertical, look at my cursor here. Look at the script here on the right side. So if you did vertical, then you would choose one of these two options. Okay, so it does a loop and it uses the offset effect. Okay, so that's what I mean. And normally you would actually set them up a little bit more nicely. But I just want to show you how robust it is. Now it looks quite similar to AC/DC, right? But it's a bit simpler. For the source layers, you only have to select these options. Baseline is if you're only dealing with text layers, and you've got text options when you select baseline. Okay, align to target similar to what we had before. So I'm gonna just select bottom, and what's gonna happen is it's gonna align all the layers to the bottom, and you've got your align target here. So if I select this and deselect and then select, it's gonna be the last selection. I think shift click here should work. Yeah. So shift click on any of these items should work. Or they do work, not should work, they do work. So as you can see, they're all aligned to the bottoms now. Okay. And if I did a ribbon, sorry, need to select the layers. These are the options. They're pretty self-explanatory. You can set the speed that you want here, and you can adjust the speed here. But once you adjust the speed, the loop point will be, of course, not accurate anymore. It has to recalculate. So you will have to run the script again. But it's insanely quick. So how you place your objects, the sequence or the distribution order is important. As you can see, there's a duplication here. It might be what you want, might also not be what you want. Okay, I'm gonna delete this, and no keyframes except for, oh, no keyframes at all. So everything's expression driven. So if I double E here, you can see the expressions and some of the calculations are there. Okay. So back up here, that's self-explanatory. I think, I explained it sufficiently. We'll look at baselines at the end. So these options you've seen before, right, in AC/DC, except this one, because I'm doing an animated ribbon, so I'm selecting this. The other distribution options will be similar to what we had in AC/DC earlier, okay, with fewer options here, but sometimes this is all you need. Okay, if you've got questions, ask. Next, I'm going to do the baseline. I'm gonna set this like that. So baseline option is when you're dealing with text. Okay, so we're gonna go with last selection. And as you can see, um, you can go with layer boundary for text, or you can go with first baseline or last baseline. I'm gonna go with last baseline. So what it's going to do is this last layer here is, or this layer, it's last baseline. It will match with the last selected layer. All right. So click this, click this. Now I change to first baseline, and that's what you get. And what's nice about baselines is um, it disregards the descenders. Okay. See that? So when you want to align text baselines, I know we've seen Anchor Point Pro. That's also helpful, but this is also useful at times. All right. Um, there's no other way to get the baselines um, that I know of. I don't know of any script that does this, um, but it's insanely useful. All right. Okay, that's it for ribbons. Then next we're gonna look at some of the other transitions. All right, we're here and we're looking at responsive transitions. And this is insanely powerful. Do a quick read up here. All right, so what happens, or what this script does, is actually three scripts in one. It does scale transition, slide, and a wipe. Okay, um, and what it does is it's very intelligent. Yeah, it works with any type of layer. Okay, text, video, vector graphics, with or without um, collapse, continuously rasterize. Option solids. So it's super powerful. I'm gonna switch this off because this one's animated, and we'll look at that separately. So all you need to do is select your layers and then decide where you want the keyframes. There is a pair of keyframes to allow you to control the animation, and just like that, the script applies effects. So different types of layers may get or will get different effects. Okay, so let's look at this. So this does a scale, right? It's a responsive scale. Why is it responsive? Well, regardless where you put your layer, even if you change it later. So let's look at this. And let me solo it. If I scale it down, the scaling effect responds to the size update or the scaling update. So that's why I call it responsive. And these are the effects that are applied. You only need to control these two. Everything else there plays a supporting role, except maybe source rec at time. You decide where in time you want to calculate the scale. So default is 2 seconds. If you need it later or earlier, you set it accordingly. Alright. I'm going to double click this to display it on the timeline. So this is your transition controller. It goes from 0 to 100. I'm going to copy, paste, and then time reverse. Hopefully you've got a shortcut like mine here, time reverse keyframes, and then it goes from 100 to 0. So that's how you would do your transition out. And you've also got your transition direction. So you've got 9 options. Some of these effects have only 8. So you can come in from top left. Alright, you can also set a keyframe for that. And then over here for transition out, I'm going to transition out bottom right. I need this guy, so copy, paste, command option R or control alt R to reverse, time reverse these guys. Transition out. That's where it goes. So comes in from top left via scale or scaling, and then out there. And like I said, you put it anywhere, you can scale it up or down, and it should work with parenting also. I don't think I set any to parenting, none, but it should work if the layer is parented. Okay, as you can see, it respects the yeah, even as you adjust it. So it's insanely powerful. And I'll leave it to you to test the slide and the wipe. Same thing, maybe just slightly different, but the animation controller is the same. The transition direction is not identical because some of it do not do a center, and a couple of it they don't do the centering, but they do have top left and other options, and of course the when to calculate the boundary of the layer, which is your source vector time, sample time. You may want to adjust that if you don't get the results. But more often than not, just set it to a point in time. Here it's 2 seconds, where your layer is at rest and not animating in or animating out. Make sense? Just set this value for time at a value where your layer is at a rest, not animating in and not animating out if it does animate out. Now, next I'm going to skip responsive lines and go to expression links for now. Because this is useful, what this does is it allows you to link controls, your effect controls, to a single layer. If you look here now, they're all animating on their own, so each layer has its own controls. Correct? See that? These are all for each of the different layers. So what I'm going to do is actually create a controller layer. Alright, I'm going to create a controller layer. And in this controller layer, in this controller layer, I'm going to copy this. I could copy this also, but I don't need in this case. And click here and paste. So what I'm going to do is, for all these layers, I'm going to link their properties, these two effect properties, to this guy, right, via expression, so that when I set the transition direction and also the transition time, all the controls are centralized to this controller layer. And how do you set this up? It's super simple. You come here, again, we're at the expression links, right? So come here, I'm gonna refresh the layer list, and it's gonna display all the layers in this composition or timeline. Select the layer that is gonna be your controller layer, which must have the effect which you want to be centralized or controlled centrally by this single controller layer. All right, you got three options over here. You do not have to select effect, you just select the layers. Over here, this option, you select the actual effect you want to deploy or to link, and then over here, you select the property in the effect. In this case, there is no property to select because each effect is a single property effect, right? This only has a slider, and this has a drop menu. But if you're doing drop shadows and stuff, we'll have a look at that shortly. Then for drop shadow, you can pick maybe the opacity or the drop shadow color and have you can select which property you want to be controlled centrally by a controller layer. Right, so I hope that makes sense. So we selected our controller layer, and with this option, link same effect names, it's just going to grab this guy, these two guys, because they're there, and then next you select your layers where you want to link the properties to. Okay, and then you just click create expression links. Whoops. It's okay, I'm going to come here because when I pasted the animation controller was not at time 0 or at the endpoint. So now as I animate this, they're all centered. Yeah, they're scaling in from the center. So if I come here and choose top left, you can see then now all these layers, their transition direction is now centrally controlled by that one layer. So it's insanely powerful, and as you can see, it's really easy to set up. You just have to make sure your controller layer has the effects which are also within the layers that you want to control, right? And then the script does the searching and matching and deploys the expressions also. Alrighty, I'm gonna undo. Um, Undo. I can still see an expression there, so I'm gonna undo again. One more time. Yeah, so the expression is gone, right? When it's red, that means there's an expression. So now I'm going to choose this option where I pick and choose which effect in my controller layer I want to link. Right? With this option, I don't select a specific effect. All effects that are here, the script will search if the selected layers have the same effect, and if they do, the script will create the expression link for you. I'm going to bring this there so that the transition starts at time 0. Now, which isn't necessary, obviously, right? So now I have two effects, right? I have two effects. I'm going to set the animation controller to be centrally controlled by the controller and let each layer have its own transition direction. So I'm going to select this option. I'm going to select here this guy. I could also delete this, eh? But just to show you that we can do it this way. So you select this effect. So you select your layers first. From here, select the effect. Alright, and then click on this. Now you can see the scale controller is linked, but the menu is not linked. Alright, so they're all coming in at time 0 right up to time 2 seconds. That's the duration of the transition, which is centrally controlled here. If I select the text, layer now, instead of being centered for its transition in direction, I could set it to top left, and with this guy I can set it to top right. Get the idea? Okay. Now I'm going to select all my layers. I'm gonna remember, this is our null from the layer grouper. I'm going to remove all my effects. What's happening here? Let's remove that. Now this layer is interesting. It's got an animation, and it should also work. Well, it does work. Let's do a slight transition here, and this one creates a matte. Alright, so it creates a matte layer which it shies. Alright, maybe I'll unshy it so you can see it. And let's look at the matte effect. Alright. So you can see even if the layer animates or is animating, the slide effect also works. So it slides in at the top. Okay. Oh, it slides in from the bottom center. So I can change this from top center, and it slides in that way. Alright, so I'm just showing you that it works even if your layer is animated. Now, back to responsive transitions. I'm going to show you the third option here. Sorry, it's the expression links. I'm going to show you this third option. I'm going to go to this mode. And now what I will do, I'm going to remove these guys. And let's just select 3 layers. And we're going to apply drop shadow to them. Whoops. Guess I have to do one at a time. Yeah, so I'm going to copy this and drop it here. So, whoops. So all 3 layers at the bottom here have the drop shadow. Okay, but within the drop shadow, I only want the controller layer to be the central controlling layer for, let's say, these 2 properties. Right, and that's where this option comes into play. And why would you do that? Well, so that it renders faster. Alright, so you don't have to create expressions for each and every option here. So from here, I'm going to paste the drop shadow. Now, notice you have to select the property here in the timeline, not up here, because as you can see, you can't select individual properties. And even for this option, yeah, don't make selections, effect selections up here. Do it in the timeline. If you do it here, it won't be recognized by the script because it's you can't use scripting to access property selections or effect selections up here. Right? It's going to be done in the timeline. So I got these 2 properties. In fact, I should have selected these guys first. So select your layer and then select these 2 properties, and the script will do the same process, right, as these 2, except this time it's looking at specific selected properties. Alright, and then it's going to match them, or if there is a match, to the selected layers. If there's no match, then obviously there won't be an expression link. Alright, so I'm going to click this, and now when I come here, you can see it's created an expression link for the 2 properties that I selected here. Alright, so that's what expression links do. Right, then we're going to look at, let's look at responsive lines. Okay, it's a bit strange, but I'm sure you would have seen um, something like this. Let's do a 400 by 500 solid. I'm gonna solo it. Okay, so responsive lines. Okay, responsive lines. What it does is it creates lines, but it's very useful because I'm sure you've seen effects like this. Quite a few, not automated, obviously. So what's nice is this is automated. It's neat. It's tidy. Um, it's super accurate. It works with whether this layer is parented, scale, or the parent layer is scale. Okay. So you pick your options here. How many sides? By default, it's got the left side selected, right? Unselected will be slightly grayed out or gray. So the default is on the left, on the right, the center is not selected. You can create segmented lines. What it does is instead of having a single line, let's say I pick the left option here. Maybe let's do that. Okay, let's select this. Whoops. Let's do this. So it created a shape layer. Okay. Um, let's make this neat and tidy. Okay. So this is our layer. This is our responsive lines layer created by the script. And if you look here, it created a shape layer and a single group left vertical. And you've got a few effects to help you control. There's a sample time if you want to calculate, right? At 0, that means it's always calculating, all right? So when sample time, this is your source record time argument. So if you set it to 0, it's the same as setting it to time. That means it will always calculate, all right? You can set your line width, and there are options for adding dashes here, a trim path, and also dashes. All right. Now I'm gonna undo, or just delete this because I don't want to undo too much and bring up the layers. So what happens if we do a segmented line option? All right, and then create individual segmented lines. So now when you look below here, instead of seeing a single group, you've got 3 groups. This guy is for the top segment. See that? Look at the column panel here. This is the middle, where the layer is, or where the layer's boundary is. So that's the difference between creating segmented lines. And you can scale and those lines follow along. Okay, and you can add null points, or you can make the lines guide layers. All those options are available, and then your line attributes are here, right? The setting width. Of course, once you've applied it, you can make adjustments here. It also does masking. So if your layer has a mask, this part of this part of the script is not dynamic, unfortunately. So if you're going to apply a mask, let me undo. Maybe it is, right? Let's see. If I create a mask in the middle, oh yeah, it is dynamic, yeah. So that's pretty cool there. So if you create a closed mask, which changes the boundary of your layer, the path will also update accordingly. Alright, so now if I come in and I change my mask, of course it will not extend the layer's original boundaries. Okay, that's it. It's pretty easy, I think. I'm gonna delete this. What I normally do is set all of these up. I will set null nulls also. Uh, so it's going to create a shape layer for the sides that you picked here, and then it's going to create nulls also. So it takes a bit of time, not too long, but slower than some of the other creations. All right, done. Because you can see that quite a few nulls there. So now we lock this. So this allows you to control. Whoops. This allows you to control, or the nulls actually control. You see, they've got an expression that's linked to the line that's in here. I'm going to set the label colors, or B for blue, or Y or option Y for yellow. So that's what the script has done, has created, right? For each of the lines, um, a different segment, because I selected this option here. And if you create segmented lines, this option will be available. Okay, you can create individual line controls also. All right, so for each segment or for each line, you can have a different line control, a line color,